Yo, what's up guys? Universal Mastery. So what I do on my channel is I break down the occult sciences to an extremely practical level so that you can use them in your day-to-day life. So what I'm going to be talking about in today's video is psychedelics in the path to higher states of consciousness. Stay tuned. Okay, so the first thing I want to say is definitely make sure you go and check out the Patreon. What I have on my Patreon are exclusive videos. It's going to be a 50-50. So half of the videos are going to be essential videos for actually practicing the occult sciences. So I have videos that give you techniques, they give you tips, they give you tricks, video breakdowns of me actually performing hidden spiritual practices that can help you get in touch with the spirit world, help you get in touch with specific spirits specifically, and help you to really dive into the subconscious, unconscious aspects of yourself. Okay, so I have videos where it's literally breaking all of that stuff down so that, you know, if you perform what's actually on those videos, you're going to get real results from it. 100% guaranteed if you're doing what I'm sharing. Then the other half is going to be geared towards educational entertainment. So that's going to be kind of like a video like this. So I already have a good amount of exclusive videos that are on there right now, and I'm also going to be uploading weekly to my Patreon, which is not going to be on my YouTube channel. So definitely make sure you go and check that out. In order to gain access, the lowest tier that you need to be in order to gain access to these exclusive videos is going to be tier 2. In order to be a tier 2, it's literally going to be $9.95 a month, and that's going to be a reoccurring payment, which literally comes out to less than $1 a day. So there's really no reason why you shouldn't be able to afford that with the value that's already on there. And as you go up in tiers, there's different benefits. So I definitely encourage you to go and check it out and look at what I have for the top tiers, because the benefits get pretty extreme up there. But other than that, guys, I'm going to wrap it up here. Where you can find the Patreon is going to be the first link in the description. So click the description, you'll see that first link there. I'll say my Patreon. That's where you're going to check it out. That's where you'll find it. And I want to give a special shout out to the top tier members already. Their names are going to be mentioned right below that link. So this is it, going right into the video. So psychedelics and the highest states of consciousness. Okay, this is something that is this is a big deal right now, especially like in the time that we're in. A lot of people, and I think one of the biggest advocates for it is Joe Rogan. I think Joe Rogan is changing the game when it comes to the way that people look at psychedelics. I think he's getting people on his podcast that are sharing wisdom, sharing knowledge about how psychedelics can really transform yourself, all things in that nature. Now I'm gonna try and give you a balanced perspective of my own experience and what, you know, how I've used it in my own life to elevate my consciousness and literally, I mean, essentially get in touch with the astral plane and realize that there is another side to life. There is an invisible aspect to life. There is an invisible science to life. And the first place that I want to start is before I was even spiritual. And when I say before I was spiritual, that doesn't mean that I necessarily wasn't spiritual. It just means that I wasn't practicing. I wasn't consciously doing meditations. I wasn't consciously trying to make contact with specific spirits. I wasn't consciously studying about spirituality. I just, you know, I was living my life and I was young. But this is where it comes into play. So I had a point in my life where I took shrooms, and I've taken shrooms, I want to say like 4 times, but I'm going to talk about this time specifically because this is when I had like a massive transformation. So I had a point in my life where I was, you know, hanging out with a bunch of friends, and we all got together, we were hanging out, and it was in a college town, and we planned, it was my friend's birthday, we planned on taking mushrooms, and then we're gonna go to a party, and then that's when it was gonna kick in, we're gonna have a good time. So I took the mushrooms, I wanna say I took like an 8, maybe like 4 grams, somewhere around there. It was a lot. We all took that same amount though. And I get to the party, it starts kicking in, and then I was with one of my other friends, and my friend, like, it started to literally just start kicking in, but then my friend had told me, he said, hey look, he said, bro, I'm not feeling too good, can you come sit outside with me? And I said, sure, yeah, I'll go sit outside with you. You know, I want to be a good friend. So I sat outside with him, we were at the party, now I'm outside on the deck, and my friend's out there, and my friend went to a really dark place. Like, he didn't say much at all, but I could just tell he was going to a dark place. And because I'm now out there sitting with him, I somehow tapped into that same level of darkness that he was channeling. So this is where I first started to kind of pick up on the fact that thoughts are attractive. Thoughts, you can literally pick up on people's thoughts, because remember, I was beginning to trip, so now I'm much more receptive to what he's picking up on. It was crazy. So I started tapping into his bad trip, and then I started having the exact same bad trip. Like, I just started sitting there. We're not talking to each other at all. See, in my perspective, I thought I was going to help talk him out of it and talk him into a better trip, but he just wanted to be silent, and then it rubbed off on me. I tapped into it because I was in a heightened state of consciousness. Now I'm feeling the same bad trip. So next thing you know, I'm starting to see, like, you know, dark figures, and I'm starting to see spiders come down and shit. And to me, that was frightening. You know, it was extremely frightening. And I just remember, you know, I kind of don't remember a lot of what happened exactly in depth and detail, what happened after that, but I do remember when we got back to my friend's house, I'm still tripping. It was time to go to sleep. And I remember I just sat down on the couch and I crossed my arms like this, like I was a mummy, like I was dead, like I was dying. And I sat there, and I remember I was freezing. I was so cold, like I was shivering, and I just sat there. And I remember thinking in my mind, like, it's like I'm dying. And I wasn't scared that I was actually going to die, but it was like I was imagining that I was dead. It was weird. And then the next morning, I wake up, not tripping anymore, but I feel like a different person. A different person. I feel like I had an ego death. So that whole shroom trip led me to having an ego death. And if you are aware of spirituality, if you're aware of what happens in this, you know, in the spiritual field, ego deaths are very important, because it causes you to learn a lot more about yourself, and it causes you to see who you truly are. So when you don't have an ego, you're just spirits, okay? You're looking at the more spiritual aspects of life, the deeper meanings of life, because all that ego shit doesn't really matter when you have an ego death. I'm not saying that it doesn't matter. It does matter. Egos extremely matter. But when you have an ego death, it doesn't, because there is no ego. So you're just spirit, and though they happen for a reason. They happen so that you do dive into those deeper aspects of yourself. And this happened to me at a young age. I believe I want to say like 17. It was either 17 or 18 when this happened. So I had this ego. No, it had to have been 18. So I had this ego death. Didn't know it was an ego death. I just felt different. And what that literally resulted me in doing was studying a little bit more about myself. Now, I didn't go crazy. I just, you know, part of me was kind of scared. I was like, okay, I took a fucking really powerful drug and now I feel different. And then you hear all these stories about people saying like, oh, it probably fucked your mind up and you're screwed forever. And that does happen. There's people that do that, and they take extreme amounts of psychedelics to the point where they lose touch of spirituality even. Like they just go into their own fucking world, like complete different world, and they forget that like they can come back, and they stay there. And they don't make an effort to try and like come back. But you know, I'm hearing people say, oh, like it could have changed, like, you know, all this other stuff was coming out of the woodworks, like it could have changed you forever. And I was kind of like a little bit worried about it. I was like, oh shit, like, all right, like I need to make this an experience. Like I know I changed, but I'm not crazy. I knew that. So I started studying it a little bit more and looking into myself, like, how did I used to be? Like, how did I used to act? And I started just reflecting on so many aspects of myself that I never really gave the time of day. I spent a lot of time trying to distract myself from these aspects of myself until I had that ego death. So I see the importance of that ego death back in that time. And it's interesting because it also comes into play with the Carl Jung psychological makeup of the shadow, because that ego death caused me to really embrace my shadow, which is a lot of repressed emotions, a lot of repressed memories that I had. So they started coming to the surface, and it started to really change the way I felt. It really started to change the way that I perceive life, and now I'm looking at myself in a completely different way. I went from being someone that was like extremely confident of who I was and who I was as my ego and how I perceive things and how I projected myself, to being someone that was extremely insecure and like almost a little bit filled with like this anxiety of how people are viewing me and like, who am I really? So in a surface sense, it kind of sucked, but in a deep spiritual sense, I would not be who I am today. I would not be able to share these messages the way I do if I didn't go through that. So in the long run, with longevity, because I capitalized on it and I finally came to the realization I need to start bettering myself. And this is a couple years after that ego death happened. It took me a while to catch on. So don't beat yourself up if something similar happens to you. But once I did catch on, I started developing myself on a much more intense level. And then when I encountered ego death again, because I've had many ego deaths, trust me, I've had deaths about my own spirituality and within my energy body that most people do not understand and would not be able to make it through. I'm telling you this now. I've had so many of those that when I had my second ego death, it wasn't anything new to me. I understood it a lot more. And then the third one, I understood that a lot more. And then I became almost like a master of death, you could say, a master of, knowing that when my ego goes away, there's something else I got to start studying. There's something else I have to start diving into, rather than all the mundane physical things of life, which are not bad. It's just a different perspective, a different aspect of self-development. So now, with sharing that experience, I hope I gave you an idea of how psychedelics can really transform somebody's life. And it absolutely did. Now, I also want to paint the picture that it is extremely important to not become addicted to anything. We always want to be balanced. So when you're doing something and you're looking, like if you're looking for the mushrooms, or you're looking for the acid, and you're looking for the pill, or whatever the fuck it is, any drug that can help you somewhat get out of your normal state of consciousness, if you're doing that too often, if that becomes something that you're craving and you're trying to do like daily, that's when you know you're addicted to something. What moderation should be doing something 2 times a month. Okay, that's a good moderation when it comes to marijuana. Like maybe like marijuana can be a little bit different, maybe like once a week or once every 2 weeks. But all of these things need to be in moderation. They need to be balanced, and that's how you're going to get the benefits from them, is when you get them in balance. If you do these things out of balance and you do them too often, you're risking yourself to have a spiritual death that you're probably not ready to pull yourself out of. Because there can be positive things that happen when you become addicted to certain substances, no matter what it is, because you will go to a dark place eventually. When you first get addicted to something, it's amazing, it's great, and then it starts to slowly take you into a fucking pit. And that pit in the esoteric world, in the occult world, can also be known as, you could say, the abyss. And in the abyss, you've got all types of beings. You got all kinds of shadows. You got all kinds of demons. You got all kinds of beings in there. There's tons of beings that we can't even put names to. That's how many there is. And you go there and you learn a lot about life. You learn a lot about what the true meaning is to life. And while you're learning these things, while this sounds good, it's not comfortable. You feel like you're losing yourself. You feel like you're literally losing, your soul's being ripped out of your fucking chest. You feel like your energy is not the same. And you are feeling like you're being fed upon by fucking vampiric spirits. Okay, if you can just kind of get an idea of what that would feel like. But if you can get the strength and the willpower to realize, I'm gonna fucking come out of this shit and I'm gonna resurrect, just like Christ resurrected from the dead. Like, you're gonna rise as the phoenix, and then you go cold turkey on whatever that addiction was. You will rise to a higher level than you've ever been before. So there are some people that strategically use psychedelics in that way, where they have such intense experiences. Ayahuasca is a very similar drug to this. Ayahuasca is completely life transforming. Ayahuasca causes the release of DMT, which is the hormone of death itself, and it literally makes you go to that really dark place very quickly. And then you come back and you wake up, and you most likely have had encounters with spirit guides. You've had encounters with entities, with deities, angels, demons, whatever it is, the guys that help guide you on your path. And then you realize, you realize, like, wow, that was an intense experience, and there's a lot more to life than what I thought. A lot more than just this physical plane. And but when you're addicted to some sort of drug, like if you're addicted, it's a little bit harder to rise from that because you're addicted to it. Okay, when you take ayahuasca, you're most likely not addicted, but it just takes you out quick. But when you're addicted to something, it took you so far down, now you have to rise back up and not do it again. and you have to fight that urge to not dive back into whatever that substance was. But then once again, if you do rise from it, you're going to rise to a very strong, powerful place. So that's pretty much my perspective on drugs in general. And I would say, I'm going to say this right now, the drugs that I would stay away from, that I feel like do not have the benefits are not worth it. Okay, the benefits that you would get from them are not worth it at all, are any form of pill. Okay, like when it comes to Adderall, when it comes to Xanax, when it comes to Percocets, when it comes to why am I drawing a blank on this? Adderalls, Percocets, Xanax, Klonopins, any of those things, I highly recommend you stay away from those at all costs. I personally have been addicted to all of those things before, and I've almost lost my life to that addiction a couple times. I've had extremely crazy experiences. Thankfully, I've risen out of that and I became strong as fuck because I overcame all of those. But there was like those ones will take you the fuck down. So if you're not strong-willed, that could be the end of you, and you got to be very careful with those. I don't think the benefits are worth it. One, and another aspect to it is it's not natural. It's not like a plant, like ayahuasca. It's not like marijuana. It's not as natural as these other ones. The natural ones are going to provide a much more flowing, a much more understanding experience for you. The artificial pills, they're going to literally just make you feel like a different person instantly. What they literally do is create a very quick alter ego for yourself, and that alter ego over time with consistency becomes real, and you lose yourself. You forget who you are, and you see yourself only when you take that drug, and that's not who you truly are, and it's hard to get out of that, extremely. So that's my advice to you. But when you are using things like mushrooms, like pure LSD, and I would stay away from the unauthentic LSD. I've done that many times, but I would stay away from it because who knows? And from my experience taking it, I didn't have any really like life-changing experiences. All it did was give me extremely powerful visuals, which was like, I mean, there's nothing I could really take from that. Shrooms gave me actual deep-rooted experiences, things in that nature. Pure LSD would give you a different experience. So yeah, so when you do these things in moderation, and when you do them with intention is also very important, of having a spiritual growth, of understanding what the spiritual aspects of life are. If you do it with that intention, you're going to have a much better, more authentic, life transformative experience when you do it. If you're doing it just to get high, it's not going to be the same experience, but you could still have that life transforming experience. But you want to make sure your intention is going into it, because your intention is extremely powerful. But once again, the moral of the story is, yes, psychedelics can absolutely help you awaken certain aspects, dormant aspects of your mind and of your conscious, of your psyche, that you probably have never had access to. And I do think it is beneficial that every person at least has some experience with it down the road at some point, okay? But you got to be extremely responsible with it, and remember, your intention is absolutely important. And just to have one experience, okay, one experience and never do it again can be life transformative. But remember, everything comes into balance. So that's gonna wrap it up, guys. I'm gonna leave it here. I hope this video offered you some value. Definitely make sure you hit the thumbs up and hit the like button over here, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, because I'm posting videos as often as I can. And definitely make sure you check out my Patreon. It's going to be the first link in my description. That's where all the exclusive videos are going to be that are not on my YouTube channel. Then you go to the second link below that. It's going to take you to the Streamlabs merch, where you can order a Hecate Sigil shirt. Place your order. They will literally ship it right to your door. Then go to the third link below. That's going to take you to the Facebook community. On the Facebook community, when you click that link, you're going to see a pinned post at the top. Click the pinned post. It's going to say private group. Request to join. I'll add you in. I post a little bit of extra content up there as well in the form of quotes. So definitely make sure you request to join that, and I'll add you in. But other than that, guys, once again, I'm going to wrap this video up, and I hope you have a great, an excellent, a wonderful, a transformative rest of the day or night wherever you are located right now. And I will see you on the next video. Peace.